Hi, Maria.
Hello.
Hi.
There's Crystal. Today, our presenter here at Access Lunchtime is Crystal. Crystal's also known on many forums as strive4peace. She has been a longtime Access MVP, and she does a lot of teaching, not only about Access, but about Word and I believe Excel. Is that right, Crystal?
Excel, PowerPoint, Camtasia. I teach about anything that I know about, which, gosh, the list is long.
And Access Gurus,
AccessUserGroups.org.
take it away, Crystal.
Okay. I get a scary message warning. What's wrong? The code it ran just fine. Where is the stopper? What isn't proper? Just let it run to Word this time. In case you don't recognize it, that's from My Fair Lady, a few different words. I have so much fun with this. So today we're doing a deep dive into automating Word from Access. You can also use these same ideas in Excel, PowerPoint, and Word too. And so I'm going to put a link in the chat to where you can download the documents that we're going to be looking at and the database that makes them. This document we're looking at, Access didn't make, but it's also something that you can download. I set up a website for that. Before we get into automating Word, we really need to understand the object model. And so I drew a very simplified diagram to explain things a little bit for you. And here it is. So at the top of the object model, of course, is the application, the Word application. And Word application can have one document open. Well, actually, it can have no documents open, but usually you have at least one. So one to several documents open, and each document has sections. Most people just have one section in their whole document, but you can divide documents into sections. Then each section can have different headers and footers. It can be a different orientation. So you can put landscape page into a document that's mostly portrait pages. In section, we have paragraphs, sentences, words, characters. Then we also have pages and lines, depending on where things break. And we have all kinds of other objects, tables, charts, shapes, too many more to put on this diagram. When you're automating Word, it's important to understand what a range is. A range is just the selection character, or it can be one character, it can be several characters, it can be several pages, it can be the whole document. Just like in Excel, a range is one cell or it can be many cells. And so you can draw an analogy to that. If you name a range, it becomes a bookmark. So that is the difference between a range and a bookmark. They both can have the same things in them. It's just that a bookmark gets a saved name and you can use it again. So a range is helpful when you are building applications, when you're developing them, so you can refer to parts of your document. Range, however, has a couple different ways to look at it. One way to look at it is a range that has one character, many characters, many pages, just a bunch of stuff. Another way to look at it is when you go inside a paragraph, for instance, to the text, you're actually going to the range and then the text. Or if you go inside the document, you go document.range. So in that sense, range is kind of like when you have a subform control and you want to reference what's in the subform, not just the control itself, you do subform control dot form dot control name in the subform. So you can draw an analogy there, but also realize that range also means that first thing I told you about. Now, another important thing about documents is they are always linked to a template, at least one, and that would be the normal.dotm template. And that has styles, which we're going to talk about, which are very important: auto text, shortcuts, toolbars, VBA. You can have boilerplate text in styles, so you could, or in templates, sorry. So you could make a template that looks like a document that you have, except for you just want to make some substitutions here and there from Access. So you could make the document the way you want it in Word, and then Access can drive that merge into the document. A document is also connected to building blocks, and I don't think I put any in this template. Let me make a blank document based on a template that does have building blocks in it. I've created this so I can do documentation really quickly. I can just type the name of a key like F3 and then expand that into the keycap. What a building block is maybe some text that you type a lot. So, or it could be also an image. So AccessUserGroups.org. Gosh, that's a lot to type. So instead of having to type that out all the time, I can insert, and I'm on my narrow screen, so I have to come over here and kind of hover over these things. Quick parts, explore quick parts, and I want to create a quick part. So save selection to the quick part gallery, and I could call that AUG, and then I can save it in the building blocks document, or I can save it in one of the templates that I'm currently using. Always using normal, but I'm also using this other template that used to be my normal one. I used to replace normal with this, but now I just make it extra, and it has all these little extra keys in it. So if I put it in my normal template, and okay, and notice that I can also, on the options, I can choose how it gets inserted. I can give it a description. Okay, and now if I type AUG, press the F3 key, out comes that. So I just did want to show you that about building blocks. They don't have anything to do with developing, but when I presented at DevCon, that was a topic that a lot of people found interesting. So anyway, building blocks are always connected also to your document. In all of the code samples, it's important to understand the different types of objects. So at the top here, I tell you the variable names I use for objects. DB and RS, we all know those. Yeah, that's not Word, but it is in some of the code. So that's Access, of course. And then the word application is OWord. ODoc is the document or the document object. When I draw a table, that will be O table for a word table. A range will be O range, or you could say orange, but it's O range when it's got the case like this, little o, big R. And sometimes I have two range variables. Here is how to set some of the object variables. Of course, we know these two, but maybe we don't know the rest of these. So I'll just give you some examples on how to set them. Now, this document that I'm looking at, let me go under View. I'm going to show the navigation pane. And now I'm going to collapse the ribbon again. The navigation pane has all of the heading levels pulled out of it, so you can kind of look down here and use this to help you find things in this document. So as we're going through it, create and save a document. Now this code isn't as good as the code that's in the Access database. This is a very simplified version of it. I'm just using create object, just automatically making the new object, even if Word's already open. But obviously you probably most of the time want to use the Word object that's already open, and then setting it to visible. But this is code in this document. This is code you can pattern after. So for instance, styles. I'm going to spend some time on styles. There's other things. There's code here I'm skipping because this is just a reference document for you. The real meat is, of course, the Access database, which I'm going to be so excited to show you, especially the data sample that I picked for you today. Styles allow you to not only format your paragraphs to look a particular way, but they give you a way to reference them. On the home ribbon, we have a styles group, and in the lower right-hand corner, we have a little button. I just call that the launcher button because I'm going to launch the styles pane and bring it over here to the right. Word has a lot of built-in styles, and I like to use these built-in styles. Maybe I don't like the way they look, so for instance, if I wanted to turn this paragraph that I'm currently on into a heading 5 style, I say, okay, I don't like the way that heading 5 style looks. I can click on this drop down and I can modify the format about it. I can change these basic things, and then down here in the lower right hand corner under format, I can get to all the other menus: font, paragraph, tabs, border, languages, and so on. I'm just going to undo that. The reason I like using the built-in styles rather than making my own styles, whenever there is a built-in style that is representative, is because the built-in styles are already there. So we might as well use them. And some of them, like the heading styles, they have special things that make them even more convenient to use. Like it's really easy to create a table of contents from your heading styles. So at the beginning of this document, no, I don't have one. Let me go to the very beginning of this document. I don't have a table of contents, but I do have lots of heading styles. So if I wanted to insert a table of contents, let's see, I think it's on references. Yes, there it is. Table of contents. Now I can customize this. I can choose what style names to get. But if I just do this automatic table of contents, then I'm just going to collapse or make things a little smaller, or make this a little smaller so that you can see what it has done is create this long list. It's gone to my heading styles, and here's the name of it. And I know you can't read that very good because it is so small. Let me make the navigation pane a little narrower so I can make my, and I'll just take away the styles pane for a minute, make my document a little bigger. But here you can see a very nice table of contents that I got real easy just because I used the built-in styles when I made this. Now I'm going to undo that because I don't really want the table of contents in here. In fact, I'll undo until I can't undo because I don't want to make any changes that weren't already there. Bring my styles pane back. Now I am showing all of the built-in styles possible. If you go to options, and that's because I've set this to all styles. That's not the default. The default is recommended. Sometimes you might want to see, well, what styles just am I using? or what's in the current document. I like to show all styles as a general rule, and instead of sorting them as recommended again, I don't know who made these recommendations, but I like to sort them alphabetically. And then when I create styles, oops, I probably just styled that. When I create styles, I start them with a little A, so they'll all be right there at the top of the list. Because as I was making this code for you, let's come to some code. See how it's all pretty with the blue for the keyword? Well, that is because this is a keyword. That's the style of it. Styles can be relate to a whole paragraph, or they can relate just to characters. And then see how nice it is that this comment is colored green, and that is because I didn't highlight it and make it green all the time. I just select something and then I say that's a comment, although that isn't a comment, so undo that. But it's important to understand styles, because that makes when you're writing from Access a whole lot easier. So now I'm just going to kind of quickly go through the rest of this because I want to get to the database and the sample documents. So here we just have a bunch of examples on how to write text, how to set ranges. Ranges are also another thing that's really important. So I've given you kind of lots of examples on ranges and some help links for them. The next thing we come to is find and replace. So if you are putting data out from Access and you have Booleans that have like a numbers 0 and -1, let's say after your document's all created, you want to go through and replace all the zeros that are just in a word all by themselves, because it probably means false, with an open checkbox, or replace all -1s that are just all by themselves with checkbox. Maybe you output data from a table. So here is the code you can do that with. You don't even have to use a different font because you can use a Unicode character. Cool, huh? Now, sometimes when you're writing a Word document from Information and Access, it gets double paragraphs or extra paragraphs. So after it's all done, after the whole document's created, what I like to do, well, what I like to do now, now that I've written this out, is I used to just manually do this, but search for white space and then a paragraph marker. So that's just Word's little code for white space and a paragraph marker. White space is a space, a tab, anything that is a character that you can't see. And replace white space at the end of a paragraph with just the paragraph marker. Then replace 2 paragraph markers in a row with just 1 paragraph marker. And that'll get rid of all those extra extra lines, especially when you're outputting text from long text. If you want to do a little bit more, here's an example where we're using wildcards. So we're using wildcards to replace something, and moving around is really important. So I've given you a list of the different constants that Word has for moving around, and then a couple examples on how to do it, and then how to go to the end, the beginning. Tables are also another really important thing. So how do we insert a table? How do we add caption to a table? So I give you code that you can pattern after to do that. When you want to sort things, you can write a table and then sort it after it's done, or you can sort by paragraphs. So here's a couple examples of code you can use. Examples on how to set bookmarks in your document, how to insert hyperlinks, and how to insert images. And one of our samples has images. If your images are in attachment fields, there isn't no way to copy and paste the content of an attachment field because I don't think there's a way to copy it. So you can save the attachment to a file though, and then you can insert that file. So I give you an example of how to do that. Page setup, I like to make narrow margins. Here's the code to insert table of contents. Here's code to insert lists, like a list of figures or a list of tables that generally you'd put at the end of the document. Code to insert headers. Now this is what the macro recorder does if you recorded it with the macro. And for many years, I did not know a better way. But this is not a good way to do things. So here is a better way. And when I presented this at DevCon, I didn't even know how to do it without selecting the header range because I couldn't get things to position themselves properly. So one thing you're going to find when you're if you're just inserting text, fine, you can just continue going, and you don't have to collapse ranges and set the range object again. But if you're inserting fields, like in a header, I can insert the contents of my heading 1 field, which is generally the title of my document. But after I insert a field, I have to set a range object and collapse that range object before I write more things, or they just don't get positioned one right after the other. It's kind of painful that you have to do that all the time, but you have to do that. Doug Robbins, he's an Australian MVP for Word. He wanted to contribute some code. So here's some code to set the various different headers and footers. And then down to my favorite word, shortcut keys. I love shortcut keys. Well, there are so many in Word, but I just kind of wanted to sift this list down to maybe a somewhat memorizable amount. And then if you want to add your own shortcut keys, like for styles, because the built-in styles, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, have shortcut keys. I use more heading styles than that. And so I like to set up shortcut keys for heading styles 4, 5, and 6. So I give you the steps to do that. And now about me. And on Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, which is like the middle of the night for anybody in the UK, and even later in the middle of the night for anybody in Europe, it's going to be a very fun presentation on drawing with Access. For instance, Access drew this, yay, yay. And we're going to see even more things Access drew because those are my examples, my example drawings. And Access drew this. And here is the link in case you want to join us. On my website, you'll find lots of free tools, code, videos, and articles. If you want me to connect to you, maybe you're building something or somebody you know is building something and they just kind of need a little bit of a guidance so that they can get onto the right path, let me help them. Let me help you. So that's what I do. I connect one-on-one. I also teach in virtual classrooms. So that's it. A whirlwind through this document. Here's also the download link. And in case you have this document, you don't remember where you got it. And then don't forget, you might have to unblock files if you get them from the internet. Are there any questions?
So at this point, go ahead and feel free to either put questions for Crystal in the chat and I will relay them to her, or you can unmute yourself. Showing your video is optional and ask the questions. Let's wait till she gets back from turning off her stove.
Okay, yeah, I ran.
Wow.
Yeah, I can still do that.
So I do have a question. Going back to the code where I believe you were replacing the zeros and the negative ones with those checkboxes.
Yeah.
So explain to me how, and that's in the code right below here, when you choose, oh, it's because you have match whole word.
That's a zero. That's a zero for like 0 and -1 when
Yes,
you're outputting.
yes,
Okay.
yes. I
Yeah.
meant 0 if I said, oh,
Oh,
sorry. But
okay.
I
Yeah,
was just
no,
trying
match
to
whole,
figure out
match,
what,
match
yeah.
whole word is something that I actually set in this
Okay.
code. Normally it wouldn't match the whole word unless you tell it to match the whole word.
So this prevents something like the number 100 from triggering.
Right,
Because
from
in
getting
that case, the
replaced
whole
with
word is 100, not 0.
one box.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Now let me go up to the,
Teresa would like you to put the link to Friday's event in the chat if you could.
okay, sure. It's at the end of this document, and actually it's on Thursday. Well, it's on Thursday depending on where you are, but here it is in the chat, which I remembered to
It's
pop
like,
out first.
yeah, Thursday evening. Okay.
Right. Yeah, but it's Thursday evening on the West Coast. So
Yeah, for those in Europe, it might be
yeah,
in the middle of the night.
easily Friday for all kinds of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's late for me.
Yeah. Well, we have to revisit that decision.
Well, it is a different time than some of the other groups, so that's nice. But
Yeah, this is George Hepworth. I run that group. We picked the late day because Juan's logic was at the end of the day, people just want to sit down and participate in the meeting. They don't want to take time out in the middle of their day. Well, I didn't know any better. So it turns out that we're kind of, well, we're really great for the folks in Australia and New Zealand. Let's put it that way.
as they come in the middle of their day.
Yeah. They come in the middle of the day.
Okay. Yes, so I'm presenting. I'll see you on Thursday, George, and it is Thursday for me.
Any other questions about interfacing with Word from Access? Crystal, if not, do you want to tell us a little bit about?
Oh, I'm not done.
Oh, okay.
That was just a little
Good,
bit of a
good.
break so I could turn off the stove, which yeah, I forgot and left it on. But anyway, I'm looking now at the web page with the Word Automation VBA code, and here are a bunch of links for you. Here's the database you can download, and there's also a images folder with a bunch of images in it, because one of the documents it creates is a document with images. I actually saved most of these examples to PDFs so that I can open them a lot more quickly while I'm here on this site. So I'll just open these examples real quick, and then I'll show you these examples that I'm opening now. Access created. Now, Access didn't make this one that I'm showing you. I mean, Access did make it. I'm sorry. Access did make it, but the code to make this isn't in the database that you have. I thought it was just a little too complex to include. It documents the Northwind template. So for instance, oh, I want to see what the customers table has. I can go right to the customers table, and here's a table in Word, a little different than a table in Access, but hopefully you can sort those out. And it has all the names of the fields, what the data type is, information about it, how many values it has, what are the indexes. Oh my goodness, I didn't know a table needed so many indexes. A lot of people get lots of indexes they don't necessarily even know about because they don't set their defaults for Access not to make them. Related tables in this list, we'll see that if we scroll down a little bit to another table, now I'm looking at the employees table, and there are tables that are related to employees. So this is, I'm about to click on it, is going to take me to a different place in this same document. So it's a hyperlink, but it's an internal hyperlink to go to somewhere in the same document. And then I can go right back to where I was with the little shortcut key. Alt left arrow is like the back. When you look at a web page and you click the back button to go back to where you were, back to a previous page or back to a previous spot in the page, that's what the alt left arrow does for Word. I did want to show you this document just because it has some things in it that Access can do that are not in these other samples. If you want to document your database, maybe you like what that does, then I also give you a link here to an analyzer, free analyzer tool, all with open source code that you can use to document your database. So, oh yeah, I'm not going to do this one first. This is my favorite sample. Let me do the styles. So I told you how important styles are. So one of the code samples creates a document, a Word document, enumerating all the built-in styles. And as you can see, it's 25 pages. So there are paragraph styles, and I've given you an example of what each style looks like. Lots and lots of different paragraph styles. Then we're going to come to character styles. So that's just some characters in a paragraph or multiple paragraphs, however many characters you select. A paragraph always has a style and a character always has a style, but you don't always get to pick what they are. Then we have table styles, lots and lots of rows. So I'll just press Control N to go to the very end. And then we have list styles. And I only gave an example of the list level 1, but level 2 would be to number paragraphs like 1.1 or 2.5.9, things like that. So there's just a real quick tour. Here's all the built-in styles so you can look at them. Then another thing that Word can do is document all the fonts that are in Windows. So I actually have two versions of this. This is the short version. So it just has all the font names that I have installed, then the letters of the alphabet, uppercase and lowercase. The long version has a lot more characters. If you're looking for characters, well, Unicode is the first place I would check. But if you're looking for characters and you don't have the ability to use Unicode, like for instance, if you're drawing on an Access report, you can't use Unicode because print was created a long time ago, but you can get all kinds of cool characters in there. And so you just have to be able to find them. So this could help you do that. Now we're going to look at the database that did this wonderful stuff. Here it is. And first I'll go through the code just to, well, actually, let me just bring up the Visual Basic window. Let me see what I had open the last time. And that's where I'll start this time. This is the code behind a form. Yeah, there's a form in here to help me with my paragraphs, but that really has nothing to do with writing to Word. But it is a cool little added bonus that you get in here. This is the code to make the styles list. And this just goes through all of the built-in styles built into Word. And it calls several procedures. I kind of list what it calls, and hopefully I got everything on this list, because a lot of times it's just kind of some cookie cutter, do this, do this. Now let's go to the specific content, then do this, do this, do this. So I've broken it out, and also early binding and late binding. I'm using late binding right now because, oh gosh, did I remember to take the reference off? Oh yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I developed with early binding, but then I switched it to late binding for posting it, sharing it with you, dimensioning more things. I'm setting a timer just at the beginning. And now to get my document object, I'm just calling this Word document get new. Now, when I go to the definition for this, I see that if Word has not been initialized, it's calling this Word application create. Now, all of these procedures, the Word application create, Word application release, Word document get new, and Word document save close, they're all in the same module. So kind of make things easy for you. But anyway, there's the Word document get new. Now I have my ODoc object. I also like to set narrow page margins, and because I do this a lot, I just wrote a little procedure to do it, and I send it the document that I want to set the narrow pages for. And here's the text that I'm going to write some stuff in the beginning to describe the document. And so here's the name of this so that I can insert it later on. And now with the document object, with the range, because actually I have to insert into a range, and I'm going to insert after, and now here's the text I want to put there. And just to be on the safe side, I collapsed that to the end. And this is something that Word, you're just going to find you're going to have to collapse things a lot to get a word to position properly. Only because I'm getting ready to insert a hyperlink. If I was just going to continue on with text, I would not have to collapse. I would not have to set this range object variable. But because I'm adding a hyperlink, I do. Now I'm done with the hyperlink. Now I'm going to, in my width, I'm going to do odoc.range. I'm going to insert a paragraph marker, and I'm going to keep track of what paragraph number I'm on. I'm getting ready to write because in a little bit I'm going to italicize it. And I'm also going to search and replace for S-text, and I'm going to make that bold. So here's just an example: insert paragraph, insert after, insert paragraph after, insert after, insert paragraph after, la-da-da-da-da, all the way through your document. Now I'm going to make the first 3 paragraphs italic. So that's why I stored that paragraph number I was on. So I'm going to do that paragraph plus the next 2. Now in that first paragraph that I stored the little I, I'm just going to find that S text and I'm going to make it bold. Now I'll set the range to the end of the document, and I'm going to count how many fonts I have, and I'm going to make a table. Now here I have code to make a table, so I'll just go to its definition and sending it the document object, the range where, and this is where I want the table to go, how many rows and how many columns I want in the table. Then there are some optional parameters you can send. So with the document, it sets up the table and it puts it exactly where you told it to go in that range. And if there's a caption, la-da-da-da-da, it also applies some standard layout to the table that I like, some padding. It sets top and bottom padding to 0 and left and right padding to 2. And it sets some other things that are the way I like them to be. And then it's done. Oh, and another thing that's in this module is do the table borders. I separated that because I don't always want to put borders on the table. This does the top, left, bottom, and right borders. It does not do the horizontal and, oh wait, does it? Maybe it does do those as well. It doesn't do the diagonal borders. It does all the other ones. So all of that is done with this one line. Now with this table, I'm going to set my column widths, and these column widths are in points. So that's why I'm multiplying it by 72. And then here I'm writing to each cell of the table. A table is just a great big, well, maybe a little tiny, 2-dimensional array. And just like Excel, you do row and column. So Excel is .cells, but in Word it's .cell. And then the first, what row I want it to be in, what column I want it to be in. And so I can write things all through the table. So on making the font list, it's kind of the same thing as the table in the beginning, only, and here I'm saying, oh, if I want the short version, then I'm going to do this. Whereas if I want the long version, then I'm just going to iterate through all the ASCII characters and make a string. Then I'm going to kind of do the same things I did before with the making the styles. I'm going to make a table. One of them I use WizHook to sort, and the other one I sort using Word. So I wanted to show you both of those ways to do things. Making images. When we make images, kind of like when we're inserting fields, we can have some issues. This one also defines new styles, or it changes the way that styles are defined. And I have a procedure called define style, which if it's already defined, then I just modify it based on whatever you send. So I'm modifying some of the built-in styles to Word, and then I'm going to use them. This one is putting images in the document. So these are my chemistry images, which I love so much. Oh, I had so much fun making those images. I can't wait for Thursday. Well, I'm happy today too, but I'm really, really excited to do Thursday because not only is it drawing with Access, but it's also chemistry. And I love those two things together. Just how much better does it get? So here, examples of how I actually did the document with all the drawings in it. And here's my paragraphs table. So what I did is I just have, this is long text, and I'll sort it in order from smallest to largest. So this is just the content of my document. And then when I wanted to put a figure in there, I actually did make a form to do this a little better. So I'll just show you this form real quick. And when you want, I guess I renamed a couple fields after I made the form. So I can't show you this form. Sorry about that. You'll have to fix it, but it does show you the image that you pick. Now, I like to store these images in relative paths. So this path is \images, which means it's a path under the location of the back end, which in this case is also the front end. And that's just so everybody sharing can put things in the same place and have the same way to get to them. Okay, I'm going to pull up my favorite one, and that's this images. This is what we're going to be talking about on Thursday. And now I'll just go back to my Word document to the end of it with my contact information. I love hearing from people that are doing cool things with Access, or if you want training. So I'll be happy to help you if you want me to. Okay, I'm done. I'm happy to answer any questions or comments.
Okay, so again, like before, feel free to either type a question in the comments or chat and Crystal or I will read it, or go ahead and unmute yourself and ask it directly.
Oh, I know I went through things really quickly.
So one question that I have is, what are the applications for Word from Access that you find most often? These are very interesting, but I'm not sure in business world I would use some of these techniques.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'd say probably the number one application is, let's say you have customers and you have a document that you send out to customers. Thank you for being a customer. We're really happy to start getting your business. And we really loved coming over and laying carpet for you. And in case you ever have any other carpet needs, please don't hesitate to contact us again. So you make the document the way you like it to be. And the differences might be who it's to, who it's addressed to, what date you did the work, or any specific content to the project. Maybe you want to put some pictures in there about the work that was done. So you can use Access to merge your information into a template that you might call My Thank You Letter. Maybe make another template called My Christmas Cards. And so you make this really beautiful Christmas card and you want to customize it when you send it out to everybody. Now, what I showed you is not how to make a new document based on a template. I showed you how to make a document just completely from scratch. But another reason you want to make a Word document is if you want to do things that are just too complicated for Access reports to handle. Like I showed you the data dictionary document with all those different tables.
Mhm.
Access would have a really hard time with that. And Access cannot do internal links. So I love the ability of being able to leverage all of the other Office products. Can we still call them Office products, or are they just now M365 products?
I don't know.
But I'm calling them Office products. Anything with VBA.
That's great. Thanks, Crystal. So George does have his hand up, and then there are 2 questions in the comments as well.
I was
I
going
think
to say,
George was first.
all right. I had before I retired, I had a client. They were a consultant group, and they had a lot of boilerplate type letters that they sent during a process. They would send the introductory letter and then a requirements letter and so on and so on and so on. So basically what Crystal is describing here, we did a lot of that by merging. It was based on mail merge, but a lot of the formatting of the completed document. And then when they were done, the rep could save that as a local template, not as a Word template, but as a template they would call up, modify. We used Access to modify that document to customize it for the new client. So it was a very much simpler version of what Crystal just described, but it was a real world application. I think I see Leo on the call, and he took that client over when I retired, if I am correct.
That's correct.
Hello, Leo. So happy to see you. Always happy to see the great big jolly green Shrek.
Audrey wants to know how much of this can be used with attachment fields.
Well, with attachment fields, you have to save the attachments to files, and then you can insert the file. So I did give you code to save attachments to files in that first document that I showed you with all the code samples.
Great. Also, Manny says, great presentation. In the spirit of automation, are there any packages that allow for some level of automation between VBA, Access, and Power Apps Flow or Azure Logic Apps?
Boy, what a loaded question.
Wow.
Hey, Maria, I'm going to let you answer that one.
So I don't know how to answer that question in this presentation, and I'm not sure that it's actually a question about Word. I think that would be a nice discussion. Maybe we'll have that topic in the fall and talk about that subject, if that's all right, Manny.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Marcus, for coming. I was really hoping somebody would try and stump you in the chat with a difficult question.
So I use Word automation for several different clients, but one of my favorite ones is actually a legal firm. They have a lot of different letters that are needed at different times during different types of legal processes. And the data for that fills those is in their Access database. And so we make use of templates to send those individualized letters out. They used to do it the opposite way, like with mail merge, and they would create the Word template and then they would use the Word interface to grab Access data, and that just did not work well at all for them. But doing it the way that we're doing it now, with pulling up the template from within Access and then filling it with data, in the correct places works so much smoother.
I do want to thank everybody for coming. It's nice to see so many people here.
Thank you so much for presenting today, Crystal. And just a reminder that today's presentation will be available in a few weeks, the recording on our YouTube channel. And also that we are taking a 2-month summer break. So we will not have an end of June or an end of July webinar. So, but we will start up again in late August, the last Tuesday of August, with a fresh set of topics and speakers. So if there's anything in particular you would like to hear someone talk on, or if you would like to present something to the group, please let me know either via chat or contact me through email, and we'll try to get your subject on the fall list.
Okay, thank you. And thanks also to John and Jack. I see 2 of my AWF friends here, and there might be more of you, but I don't recognize who you are to your screen name. And John, as far as your question about that velocity, that would be more of a question for Thursday, but even on Thursday, I think that wouldn't really pertain. I know you. Trying to be funny as you usually are, but I didn't catch that one.
There's only one answer.
Oh, what's the answer?
Do you answer that question with another question? It's African or European. It's a Monty Python. You either get it or you don't. Sorry.
Oh, Monty Python. I never got that.
I missed it too, Crystal.
George got it.
We were all waiting for you to close with a song, Crystal. That was,
there you go.
That was quite intriguing of an introduction.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I wanted to find something that rhymed with word or was about words.
That did it. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a goodbye song. What's a goodbye song? Goodbye.
So long. Farewell.
Auf Wiedersehen. Good night.
Yeah, I couldn't say all the rest of it. All right. Well, thank you all. And we hope to have you join us again this fall.
Okay, thank you.